Oh, good.
We heard him very
Hey,
clearly.
wait a second. How come TVs are turned, Kevin?
We don't need them.
We don't need them.
From yesterday when Walter was doing his brand.
Okay, just wanted to check. We're ready. I'm ready.
All right, so let's get the show on the road. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thanks. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Moore.
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Present.
Councilman Isilli.
Here.
Councilman Powell.
Here.
Councilman Scavone.
Present.
Okay, let's get the meeting started with the review of the draft agenda for next Tuesday, the 22nd. There's going to be, oh boy. Wow, okay. 8 public hearings. The first public hearing will be on the 2025 preliminary budget process. The second public hearing is for to consider any increases proposed in the maximum amount to be expended annually in the town of Southampton special districts. The third public hearing is to consider amending the town code chapter 8 to override the tax levy limit established by general municipal law section 3-C. Fourth public hearing is for an exemption from the town's Chapter 314 entitled Moratorium on Battery Energy Storage Systems requested by the applicant 9 LLC, formerly known as Certain Solar Inc. and Island Clean Energy LLC. The fifth public hearing is for the proposed allocation of the Community Development Block Grant Funds for the year 2025. Did we get that list? I don't remember that. Find out about it. Okay. The sixth public hearing is to consider granting licenses to John Dunn and West Robbins Oyster Company, Inc. for the use of a portion of Conscience Point Marina in furtherance of aquaculture activities. The seventh public hearing is to consider amending Town Code Chapter 312, Vehicles and Traffic, amending and adding parking prohibited in designated locations, regulations on a portion of County Road 80, Montauk Highway, East Quogue. And the eighth and last public hearing will be to consider amending Chapter 312 to authorize stop signs on Lumber Lane at the intersection of Maple Lane and Bridgehampton in order to create an all-way stop intersection. Okay.
Move to the resolution.
Yes, take it away.
All right,
Really?
so we have Town Board Resolution 2024-1178, co-sponsored with Councilman Scavone. This is a resolution of adoption amending Southampton Town Code Chapter 298 to amend Article 8 to authorize an exemption for the creation of new accessory dwelling units within the town. My understanding is we're waiting to hear from some of the school districts. I will say that I spoke with our Director of Housing and Community Services, Kara Bach, and she and her department has reached out to some of the school districts to inform them of the bill and to ask them to review this for our knowledge and for their input as well in the process.
So we'll table it,
Well, we'll
withdraw
see.
it.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to withdraw it. I think we're just going to see if we get any input first. I don't
We
know
did
if
get
there's
that
any-
letter from Lisa Gorey, the
Yeah,
assessor.
There are some
ask.
issues. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see where we are on Tuesday.
Yeah, let's see where we're at there.
Thank you. All right, Town Board Resolution ID number 47824 to appoint Tom Houghton Jr., Town Engineer, as the responsible local official for the Hampton Bays Bike Lane and Multi-Use Trail Project.
I'd like to co-sponsor that.
I would as well.
We actually brought this forward when the last engineer was with the town in 2019.
Does he have enough time to do it?
Glad it's finally getting done.
He's already doing it. Like,
Yeah.
he's been working on this for years.
I like to co-sponsor that too.
Michael,
Yep.
Alright.
there's 4 of us co-sponsoring.
I'll-
you know,
I'll-
I mean, I
sure,
don't
I'll
want
be
you to
added to
leave.
the-
It's kind of-
Be
Well, we
added
can
to
just
it.
say
was just
the
waiting.
I
entire
did
board.
that because it was my original bill. in
That's fine,
2019. Yeah.
Sure.
It's a good project. Town Board Resolution 47814, co-sponsored Councilman Uselli, to authorize an assignment of contract of the purchase of property located at 99 Montauk Highway, Watermill, to the Town of Southampton Housing Authority.
I have a problem with this.
I do as well.
This isn't exactly the way we discussed it, so maybe we can talk about it today, later on.
What is the issue?
Just the transferee. Thought we had a different understanding of the recipient of the property and how it was gonna be developed.
Yeah, I do as well.
Okay. We'll talk
Well,
about
I
it when we
suppose
get-
because it's a real estate acquisition, it is appropriate for executive session. Is that what we're saying here? That
Which
we'll
is why-
discuss
that's
it
why we
later in
discussed it,
executive
so-
session?
Yes,
Because,
please.
okay. All right. Well, there it is.
Okay. All right, Town Board Resolution ID number 47828 to authorize change order number 2 for AVA Design Inc. for the architectural design, engineer services, as well as construction management of a proposed ambulance facility at 1256 North Sea Road in Southampton, co-sponsored with Councilman Scaroni.
Town Board Resolution 47845. Authorized purchase of heavy-duty truck parts and labor to repair heavy equipment, RSMM from Trucks, Inc., using Brookhaven contract.
Town Board Resolution 47762, authorize purchase of licenses for Microsoft Office 365 from Software House International, SHI, using New York State contract.
Town Board Resolution ID 47778, co-sponsored with Councilman Pell. Authorized purchase of Western low-profile plow from Truist Inc. using Suffolk County contract.
Town Board Resolution 47849, authorized purchase of hydraulic heavy and medium construction equipment from Honda Construction Equipment America, Inc., using Sourcewell contract.
Don't know why I'm the co-sponsor to this, but authorizing the supervisor to sign a contract extension for portable toilet rentals with call ahead.
Town Board Resolution 47811, co-sponsored Councilman Uselli, authorize the supervisor to sign a letter of intent to become a New York State pro-housing community.
You know,
This is
we
another
did have
one.
the work session on this, well, Kara presented, but
Yeah, I would just like to get some more information on this.
Yeah.
It states on the New York State website that planning should be a part of this, and so far our planning administrator has not been brought into this conversation, so it's very labor intensive.
Okay, well, this would be an authorization.
This is just to get
To
this is
sign a
just
letter.
I don't
of
want to
intent.
authorize anybody to sign a letter I haven't seen for a
Yeah.
program that I don't know I want to be a part of.
But-
Because I don't,
Ooh,
The letter hasn't.
pro-housing community. This is a good
Yeah,
one.
there's a big carrot being dangled in front of us, and this is all the
Yeah.
stuff that we fought on home rule, and now it's basically being handed to
No,
us
that
as
is not the stuff that we fought on
okay,
home rule.
no
Don't bring that
3%
in here.
increase in housing.
Completely inappropriate and very political.
It's
This
not
is an
inappropriate.
entirely different
This
thing.
is giving the state all of our zoning. This is giving the state
That is
every
doing
property
none of
owner.
that.
This is giving the state
No,
every
it is
property
not.
owner's building permit information. Yes, it is. Have you gone on the website? Have you looked at the submission
Of course
application?
I have, Councilwoman. It is not giving the state local zoning, and please stop parroting
It is
your
not giving
local,
them local
you know,
zoning. I
political
said it is
talking
giving
points.
them, it is giving them our zoning code. It is giving them every single building permit that the town issues, who they issued it to and to what property and for what for. I have an issue giving that
This is a
amount of
letter of
information
intent
to the state.
to get grants,
This is a letter of intent
possibly.
to give the state
if this board wants to
information
move forward
for
with
our
it.
town residents. And I would like, at the very least, for our town planning administrator to be involved in this process.
Well, that is the most most coherent thing that you said this morning, I believe.
Thank
Well,
you.
and let's get the letter from Kara.
Yeah, and I do want
We
to
don't
say,
have a copy of that.
Kara has stated that, she will send us the letter, I believe.
Yeah.
So she has been transparent in that.
It's not even just the letter, it's the program that I think needs more looking into before we sign off.
We don't want to make a mistake or give out information to the wrong people.
Okay.
All right, well, to
And-
be continued.
Town Board Resolution 47839, authorizing the supervisor to sign any and all documents with Nearmap US Inc.
Wait,
Good?
yeah, okay.
Town Board Resolution ID 47795, authorize supervisor to sign catering contract for a senior services holiday party. This is the seniors raise funds every year, and they have a holiday party that they pay for at the Birchwood in Riverhead. So,
That's nice. Do they know when that's gonna be? No.
no, they pick the date and they set everything up and
Okay. All right, Town Board Resolution ID number 47807. Authorizing the supervisor to sign a contract extension for printing of envelopes with Dan Printing. Town Board Resolution ID number 47752 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract extension with United Metro Energy Corp. For ultra-low diesel fuel. Town Board Resolution ID number 47758 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract extension for printing of decals, posters, tickets, and pads with Dynamic Printing, Concept Print, and Rainbow Printing.
Town Board Resolution 47831 to authorize the 2025 renewal of ESRI Incorporated for software licensing utilized in the GIS division. Town Board Resolution 47801, authorize the supervisor to sign any and all document with Software House International, SHI, to assist in the migration of cloud-hosted email and office program environment.
Town Board Resolution ID number 47770 to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract extension with Fisher Signs and Shirts LLC for vehicle graphics. Town Board Resolution ID 47754 to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract extension with Quag Sinclair for supply number 2 fuel oil service and repair. Town Board Resolution ID number 47806 to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract extension with Quag Sinclair Fuel Inc. for liquid propane gas. Town Board Resolution ID number 47756 to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract extension with Shinnecock Hardware, North Sea Hardware, and Suffolk Lock and Security for hardware and various items for pickup.
Town Board Resolution 47526, authorize the supervisor to execute a license agreement with John Dunn and West Robin Oyster Company, the use of a portion of Conscious Point Marina and further of the agricultural activity.
Sunday, I'd like to co-sponsor.
Town Board Resolution 47838, authorizing the supervisor to execute a retainer agreement with Peter D. Johnson Esquire to provide tax certiorari legal proceedings for and on behalf of the tax assessor's office.
Town Board Resolution ID 47851, co-sponsored with Councilman Schiavone. Authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with H2M Architects, Engineers, Land Surveying, and Landscape Architecture, DPC, to provide professional engineering services related to the construction of a test well located at the end of Quail Run in Hampton Bays. This was discussed at our Hampton Bays Water Commissioner meeting. Town Board Resolution ID 47834, authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents with Suffolk County Community College to provide water aerobic classes for members of the town senior center program. I want to thank Heather Smith for, coming up with some new programs for our seniors. I think this will be very well attended, and she's even offering to drive the bus if they don't have a bus driver. So
And water aerobics is such a great thing,
Yeah.
especially for seniors.
Madam Clerk, may I co-sponsor, please? Thank you.
Myself too, please.
Town Board Resolution 47808, co-sponsored with Councilman Schiavone. Authorize the supervisor to sign a contract extension with Brian Bistrian for farming at Town Line Road, parcel Town Line Road, Sagaponic, at the tax map as indicated in the resolution.
Town Board Resolution ID number 47802 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract extension with DePierre Enterprises, Inc., doing business as Ricky's Plumbing Supply and Nugent and Potter. Is it Nugent?
It should be no N.
Yeah,
Nugent.
Nugent.
Spelled incorrectly,
Yeah.
Thank
but
you.
it's spelled correctly in the body.
For the supply of plumbing supplies to the town.
I'd like to co-sponsor the regenerations of plumbing.
Town Board Resolution 47803, authorize supervisor to sign sole source contract with General Code LLC for service of the town clerk's office.
Town Board Resolution ID 47835, authorize the supervisor to sign agreements for senior service programs.
Town Board Resolution 47836, authorizing the supervisor to sign an agreement, Municipal Valuation Services, Inc., formerly known as Michael Haberman Associates, Inc., for small claim valuation and processing services.
Town Board Resolution 47821, co-sponsored with Councilman Pell, to authorize the supervisor to sign an extended contract with Peconic Land Trust from the 2022 Community Preservation Fund water quality monies to accommodate project delays.
Town Board Resolution ID number 47804 to authorize the town comptroller to purchase the necessary property, casualty, auto, liability insurance policies.
Town Board Resolution ID 47832, co-sponsored with Councilman Schiavone, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with MRJ Industries Limited for Hampton Bays Water District SCADA Contract A, tank gauging and fiber optic cable installation. Town Board Resolution ID 47833, co-sponsored with Councilman Schiavone, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Wire to Water, Inc. for Hampton Bays Water District SCADA Contract B, SCADA system upgrades.
Town Board Resolution ID number 47850, co-sponsored by the entire board, to award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with CNEC Civil Construction Company, Inc. for Hampton Bays Bike Lane and Multi-Use Trail Project. Okay. Town Board Resolution ID number 47741 to declare items surplus and authorize disposal of vehicles.
Town Board Resolution 47759, 2024 notice to bidders for demolition of 20 South Valley Road, Hampton Bays, co-sponsored Councilwoman McNamara. Town Board Resolution 47786, also co-sponsored Councilwoman McNamara, the 2024 notice to bidders for demolition of 33 Peconic Trail, Flanders.
Yeah, that'll be nice to get those demolitions done.
Town Board Resolution 47853, co-sponsored with Councilman Isaiah McNamara, and Scavone. 2024 notice to propose of CPF Stewardship Consultant Management Service,
Sunday, I would like to be joined on that as well.
the whole board.
Big agenda.
Yeah, it really is. Town Board Resolution ID number 47784, which is the 2024 notice to bidders for property cleanup to bring properties back into compliance.
I'd like to be added to that Sunday.
Sure.
This is for cleanup of blighted properties and properties that we do.
I'd like to be added on to that too.
I'll be added on that as well.
You can do all of us Sunday.
Okay.
Don't want to be the omission.
Town Board Resolution ID number 47818 to amend the 2024 adopted budget for highway special events.
I'd like to be added on that too. Please.
Got it. Town Board Resolution ID number 47817 to amend the 2024 adopted budget for special events. Town Board Resolution ID number 47815 to amend the 2024 adopted budget for the Tiana ECD. And Town Board Resolution ID number 47816 to amend the 2024 budget for various departments.
I'm just gonna, I have several resolutions coming up. I just wanna just briefly tell you what they are so that it's not like resolution by resolution, because they're kind of combined. The first set is for amending the preliminary budget for Fire Marshal 1 and changing it to Fire Marshal 2. There is one to, I guess that's the only one on that one. What we're doing is basically we created a position for an assistant fire marshal, and when we did that, the Fire Marshal 2 position was eliminated from the budget. Ryan Murphy has asked that we bring that back to allow for a promotion track, and we did it in a budget neutral manner because we took the money from elsewhere in his budget and, you know, just basically brought the title back so that we can have a track for advancement.
I agree with that.
And that is Town Board Resolution 47707, amend 2025 preliminary budget for title change from Fire Marshal 1 to Fire Marshal 2. The next two go hand in hand because we wanted to move the adult exercise equipment from Good Ground Park to the Maritime Park, which is where Diego has envisioned it being. After speaking with Kristen Doulos, really Good Ground Park, to put it there, takes a big portion of the flat area where we, I don't know if those of you who were at the CPF day when we had the people there with tents, and it's kind of a space that we can use for assembly. We didn't want to lose that space, and the disabilities community had asked for it at a more central location in the town, which the Maritime Center right now currently only has a pavilion. There's nothing else really there. So also, in order to do this in a budget neutral manner, I did speak to Nick. The amount match for the Noyak Road pedestrian enhancements was over budgeted, so we were able to take the money from there and put it into the adult exercise project. And he,
Okay, this needs to be discussed further. This can't be discussed now like this.
this was through the town engineer, and he was correcting the amount in the budget because it was over budgeted. This is not, they did not need the amount that was budgeted,
Is this the,
and he double checked it. I believe, Maria, he went over this with you as well?
Yeah, I want to say, just to back up about the exercise equipment, when we got the request for the exercise equipment for the autistic, setup, it was,
It's my project, I'm just,
Yeah,
like
the,
finding out that it was over budget.
the request did
I'm the
say
lead sponsor on this.
if there was money at Good Ground Park, and so it was gonna cost less to put it there, and so that's why I took Kristen up on that suggestion. And Nick had said that there's an area, like there's an area with a space in the middle where it could go, that it wouldn't be distracting for the children. And there was some concern about having it at the Maritime Park because the canal is so open right there. So for all those reasons, I just wanted you to know that
Yeah,
that's
I
why we
understand
made
why
the
it was
switch.
done, and it is fenced in, and we did address that concern. And it was, yes, it could fit in Good Ground Park, but it would basically take away some of that space that we use for other things, like the fall festival with the pumpkin patch and.
is this affecting the Noyak?
No,
Road
it does not affect it at all.
Was taking away, is this Tommy John's effort, or was this the effort that me and Bill worked to get the roadway upgrades from Highway?
This doesn't, Nick went through the numbers, and the amount that was needed wasn't, basically more was
No.
budgeted than what was needed.
I'm asking,
I
is
made
it,
sure 110%
Okay.
that the money to do this project is there.
I'm
No.
finding out about this now on
Yeah.
the dais with this.
So
Okay.
what,
I reviewed this and I was,
Nick did send an email
mhm.
that,
But-
I don't know what occasioned the email, but he sent an email. This is the Noyak pedestrian improvements.
with the county that Tommy John, with the funding that Tommy John got? Is
Yep.
that what
Yes.
that is?
Well,
The town has to provide
2.9
20%.
million dollars.
If it's
So
over
this has-
budget,
hold on,
we
hold on,
might
let me
want.
just finish. I want to just clarify something. This is in no way is this affecting the money that we set aside for the Noyak Road improvement?
No.
For the
1
paving?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And if this
also
is
the-
over budget, why aren't
He
we?
likes to interrupt everyone.
Well,
Go
he's
ahead.
hearing about
I
it
did
for the
speak
first
earlier,
time.
and
Whatever.
Mike asked me to.
Whatever. Go
Well,
ahead. You
I'm
got
sorry,
the
Bill.
floor.
What did you say?
Whatever you want to do. Go ahead.
If this is over budget, then why don't we just take it out of the capital budget? It's instead of calling it over budget, say, well, we allocated too much in our capital plans for this project. Because I know Supervisor, you were concerned about that, which I understand. So we have an opportunity to knock it down by 195,000.
Yeah.
Why aren't we going that route?
Because
We can, and we were thinking, that's what Nick was saying, we don't have to allocate that money this year. We can, it was like $950,000.
you don't need to
This
allocate
is-
any of it this year.
Yeah, we don't have, that was the basis of the email. He said, we don't really have to allocate it this year because of the status of where the project is, and we have to get so many approvals from the state. So we could do it next year, and we could use the money for something else. And actually, I didn't know about the park equipment. At that point, Bill had suggested we use it for the Trout Pond culvert. Well, no, I thought we could use it for the Trout Pond culvert, and then Bill said, well, we might be able to pay for CPF money with that because if we add some fish ladder features. And then we thought, well, maybe we could use the money for the
Blacktop.
second phase of the Noyak Road paving. So,
Because there is
That's
money
a
left
lot.
in the good ground, and I understand why you did it, because there was money left in the good ground account that would go
and I
towards
thought we
it.
could have it in a quiet place that it wouldn't affect
But
the
they-
children.
But they, the money that's still in the good ground park, Kristen would like to use for electrical upgrades and some irrigation upgrades that are needed at the park, so that we wouldn't have to budget more for that. We could use the money that already exists in that account
Mhm.
by doing this separately.
I do just want to say though, I mean, I'm pleased to hear that this won't affect the monies that we have so far secured for the Noyak Road improvement effort that we've been working very diligently with Highway on. But given that I know Tommy John has worked very carefully on this, he should have been brought into the conversation early on. I have to say.
I'll forward you Nick's email that it doesn't affect it, and we don't even have to apply any of the money this year. So it doesn't affect your project at all. And that's why I
thought
didn't
the
bring it into the
email I
conversation,
thought the email went to everybody.
because I made very
Sorry.
clear that it didn't affect the project at all.
Well, it's
So
good to hear
let's
that
find
doesn't
the
affect that.
email and then we'll talk about it.
Did you want to say anything, Councilman Pell?
Oh, that's okay.
You sure? You
Yes.
seemed a little upset.
No, I'm not upset.
Okay, good.
All right.
So Town Board Resolution ID 47757, appoint members to the Shinnecock Commercial Dock Management Committee. Town Board
Wait,
Resolution,
who are the members? I see we have
myself, Kristen Doulos, John Irwin,
or designee.
Dave Lofstad, Michael Balls, and Ken Wolf. Those are all licensees at the dock.
Okay.
And
Town
what's their
It's
know,
basically
function.
so that we can meet and talk about issues that they're having at the dock, and they can represent the fishermen at the dock. And so that basically when we go to do improvements or anything, we have, a group of individuals that are involved to have a discussion with, and they can bring it back to the rest of the fishermen, because they don't have a lot of time to sit in meetings
I'm sure they'll be happy to have a
and
voice.
this was put out to the entire, all of the lessees, and these are the people that came forward to say they wanted to be a part of the committee. It was put out to everybody that leases there.
Yeah, and is everyone comfortable with what we are planning? Because we did change the plans.
Yes,
Should be someone from the town board on it.
that's me.
Is it-
Or
You're
not
not
me,
listed
town
here.
board member, or
It says town board liaison to
Which is-
Shinnecock Dock.
Oh,
which is me.
I see, okay, yeah.
Town Board Resolution ID 47702, resolution of adoption amending Town Code Chapter 312, Vehicles and Traffic, amending and adding parking prohibited in designated locations, regulations on a portion of County Road 80, Montauk Highway, East Quogue. That public hearing is happening the same night. I put it on for adoption because we did have so much community support, and they have been waiting, and we have been waiting to hear back from the county, which we finally did.
Yeah,
Fair
that's
enough.
good.
Town Board Resolution ID 47463, resolution of adoption amending Chapter 312 to authorize stop signs on Limber Lane at the intersection of Maple Lane and Bridgehampton in order to create an all-way stop intersection.
And again,
Michael, I'd
that's the
like to
same
be-
thing.
Added as a co-sponsor, I
Will
did
be.
bring this to the town engineer earlier this year. I'm happy to see it's getting done.
Sure. And what
And-
did you say?
No, just that this is a public hearing for Tuesday night
Yes.
also, and someone will be here to just talk to us.
Well, so
Maybe
Charlie
Charlie
was
was
here at the last meeting when we
Mhm.
voted to post the notice, and he mentioned that this was an effort that came about after a meeting with the Bridgehampton Civic Association. They've really had a lot of issues with traffic at this intersection, and this was evaluated by the engineers. And Charlie and Mark believe that this is the right
yeah.
course going forward.
It does
And
say
I
that
do want to say that
in the plane.
the Bridgehampton Civic also, they ask for a lot more than this, but this is, the step that they believe is the right way to go right
Okay.
now.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
traffic
I don't-
flow,
Okay.
the traffic flow there is people driving westbound, they make a right at the light and jump down on Lumber Lane and then make a left on Maple, go under the bridge, and then onto Snake Hollow Road to the circle, and it's really quite a cut through there, and it's an inordinate amount of traffic. That's why I brought it forward.
With 8 public hearings, I don't plan on bringing staff in for the no parking in East Quogue either. I'll just give a brief description because,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it so
yeah,
much
we've
already.
already had a public hearing on it.
Okay.
And we also did hear also from the Bridgehampton Civic, they did express some issues with traffic in that intersection when they were here, I think a couple of meetings ago
Mm,
on Zoom.
yeah, thank you both.
Mhm.
Town Board Resolution ID number 47654 to authorize the Peconic Bay Region Community Preservation Fund tax refund pursuant to the first-time homebuyer exemption for Pablo Montesi and Maya Brasilowitz. Town Board Resolution ID number 4780, oh, sorry, that's yours.
Town Board Resolution 47800, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore, to authorize the conveyance of sanitary flow credits for Southampton Housing Authority for the development of affordable housing at 90 North Sea Road in North Sea. Town Board Resolution 47846, accept reduced performance bond in the connection with subdivision of map of Lewis Road, PRD.
Because work's been completed at the site. Good work. All right, okay, Town Board Resolution ID number 47810 to appoint Jenna Walney to Senior Office Assistant in the Town Clerk's Office.
I'd like to co-sponsor that.
Thank you.
Town Board Resolution ID number 47809 to appoint Tony Aquino to Building Permits Examiner in Land Management. Town Board Resolution ID number 47660 to terminate an employee in the Municipal Works Department. And Town Board Resolution ID number 47767, co-sponsored by the entire board, to schedule a public hearing to consider the acquisition of 528 Pleasure Drive in the hamlet of Flanders, New York, and to amend the CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include the property. And that'll be on November 12th.
Town Board Resolution ID number 47699, notice of public hearing to consider local law amending Chapter 150 to enact a leash law for streets and sidewalks. This is an amended version as per our conversation at a previous work session, which the town attorney's office has whittled down to just only include sidewalks and streets as per some of the concerns brought to the board.
So this is scheduling a public hearing.
November 12th, yep.
I'd like to co-sponsor that with him.
Can we get a copy in advance of
Yeah.
the amended proposed code change?
It's here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
Are the changes underlined
Underlined.
that from the first version?
I believe it is,
Okay. Oh,
right?
yeah, there it is. Thanks.
This does come at the recommendation of our Director of Public Safety, Ryan Murphy, and also our Assistant Town Attorney, or Deputy, is he Assistant Town, Sean?
Sean?
Assistant Town Attorney, which actually, he deals with a lot of cases with dog bites, so that he does believe that this is a good step forward.
Okay, thank you. All right, Bill, you're on page 84.
What's funny?
Town Board Resolution 47663, notice of public hearing to consider local law 312-6, C7, in order to make a portion of Lighthouse Road one-way road in the southern direction between intersection Forster Avenue.
I'd like to co-sponsor. This makes so much sense. I can't
Yes.
believe this isn't
They
already
should have done
a
this
thing.
years ago.
Yep.
Like 20 years ago.
Well, it's so great that the sidewalks are going
Oh,
in
Bill, you
over
mind if I
there.
co-sponsor?
Go ahead. More the merrier.
Okay.
I think Michael should do it too, because he likes sidewalks.
Sure, co-sponsor.
We could all,
No, sure.
okay. Yeah,
And
it's
I'm
show
voting yes, I'll
support
even
for one of
co-sponsor.
Charlie's initiatives to get this done.
And Mark's been working very hard on it.
Mark too.
Yeah.
That'll be on the 12th.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's an add-on. Yep, thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Town Board Resolution 47742, a resolution accepting a deed of dedication of open space in connection with final conditional approval of the subdivision known as Rothman Dynasty and Watermill. Town Board Resolution 47765, co-sponsored Councilwoman McNamara, Councilmember Uselli, to consider the acquisition of 6C Squires Pond Road in the hamlet of Hampton Bays and amend the CPF project plan and CPF management plan and stewardship plan to include the property.
Is that the museum?
Mhm,
The
I
art
think so.
studio?
It should say it. Not this one.
Oh, not that one. Okay. I mean, we should all sign on to that, right? The Hampton Bays acquisition of CPF
Yeah,
property.
I think actually the next couple of
Yeah.
acquisitions are really important.
We want to add us
all of us.
onto that.
I'm sorry.
Onto
I
the
couldn't hear what.
47765, we want the entire board to support it.
765. Add everyone?
Yeah. And then Town Board Resolution ID number 47766, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize the acquisition of 27 Tiana Circle in the hamlet of Hampton Bays and to amend the CPF project plan and CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
And then this is the one.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And then Town Board Resolution ID number 47764, co-sponsored by the entire board, to consider the
This is an additional.
to consider the acquisition of land at 65 Old Riverhead Road in the hamlet of Hampton Bays and to amend the CPF project plan and CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
I would just like to say that we should all be very happy to see that there are all of these great acquisitions for
Yes.
the Hampton Bays hamlet.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we've really been making an effort to increase how many properties we are preserving west of the canal. It's a, you know, I think a major
Yeah.
step that we've been wanting to pursue. So I just want to say we've really stepped it up there. So
Yes, step it up.
commend everybody.
We have to do more looking into on the shape of some of these buildings are in Hampton Bays. In the process of getting a list.
We have some add-ons.
This is a resolution to set a public hearing to
wait.
consider.
Do you want to do this one first, or should we do
the
that?
add-ons. Oh, right. Yes, we should.
So what is this?
This is a notice of public hearing to amend zoning code, zoning chapter 330-346 to update the Kelvin for lighting in the town of Southampton. This comes at the recommendation of the Dark Skies Committee. So, you know, we've been working on this with the committee, and this reduces the Kelvin to, I believe, 2,700, which the recommendation actually is lower. So we're actually trying to meet right in the middle. Janice, I know you're here. I don't know if you want to just talk about this. You can come up to the table.
Good morning.
Is there
Morning.
is there a phase out of this?
No, so just to refresh your memory, Kelvin is the temperature scale for light, and light emits different waves, and in the spectrum of light, junk light or blue light is harmful to you. So the higher the Kelvin, the more blue light. And you see people wear blue light blocking glasses, and you have a setting on your phone to turn off the blue light. So when people put fixtures out there in the world, that blue light actually affects you as well. So at the time when we did I wrote that original dark skies code, and it was 3,000 Kelvin because that's all they made. Now they make really low, when it gets down to much lower
2200,
Kelvin.
yeah.
But the threshold now, instead of 3,000, is now set at 2,700. But you'll see in the law, it says the planning board, because this is for non-residential, so it's for commercial lighting.
Right.
And let's say your commercial use is next to like woodlands or by the water or something that would require a lower, they can get a recommendation from the Engineering Illuminating Society or Dark Skies International or an advocate, a group that keeps up with the trends, and they can get a recommendation and then say, this should be a lower Kelvin. And they're not different in price. They're not it's not like we're going to kill somebody on, you want to get ahead of it and know which Kelvin you want in the fixture and just designate it. So we don't have to keep going back and changing the code.
Right.
Janice, does
And-
this have any effect on the street lighting that we replaced in the town in
Non-residential.
2018?
It's
No,
non-residential.
because
Okay.
we actually lowered the Kelvin there.
Right.
Luckily.
So what are the streetlights?
The street lights, I would have to ask Kristen, but they're not 3,000, they're lower. I think they're 2,700.
Yeah, in
And
fact,
we added dimmers.
And we turn them down
Also,
at
the
later
bluer
night.
the light, the brighter the light. So you
Right.
see these LED lights that are super bright,
Right.
it's because they have a lot more blue light in them.
Mhm.
and I would also add too that higher Kelvin affects the natural cycles of nocturnal wildlife, which
That's right.
I think is one of the motivations for the Dark Skies Committee to really seek an amendment here to make this a little more easier to see the night sky, number one, but of course also not have any harmful effects on nocturnal wildlife. And I will also add that the county did also pass a bill a couple of years ago or so that reduced Kelvin on county facilities to 2,500. So this is sort of in step and in keeping with where the trend is going with
This is only for
municipalities.
commercial.
Correct. This is really one small little sliver of the dealing with some of the dark skies issues. There are a lot of other ambitions out there to try to reduce the Kelvin on other types of buildings and.
So I want to say I support this.
Oh wow.
Like to go to this-
But I have to make a point.
Sure.
When we, I brought something forward to tweak a code, and it was said, let's look at the code in its entirety. We looked at this code in its entirety. Last year, we made a lot of changes to this code last year. And this is basically, this comes up, and we have to change pieces of code from
Sure.
time to time. So I just want to make that point, and also, I want to also, because I have to thank our Dark Skies Committee. They are one of the most hands-on committees I
hands-on.
think this town has.
Very hands-on.
And I have to say, and they'll appreciate this, the other night when you could go outside and see the aurora,
It's
I
nice.
was texting friends of mine, go outside, go look right now. And they're like, it's just a little bit west, just a township to the west that doesn't have a dark skies code. They couldn't see it.
Yeah.
It's too bright.
Wow,
And
So,
that's telling.
And I will say, Janice was brought into this because I also know that when you spoke to us a few work sessions ago, this was one of the goals in
Yeah.
addressing.
Yep.
So I wanted to make sure that we did accomplish at least one of the steps that you had laid out.
Yes, and the committee, is very much saying like 3,000 is like passe at this point.
Yeah.
and just
Nobody
know that
even
once we
uses
pass
it.
this, they're going to start
People
on
are
next
lowering
year's
it
edition.
all the time.
Probably.
Just out of curiosity for people who are watching this, what is it for residential? Is
It doesn't,
There
people
is
aren't putting that
3,000.
kind of wattage out. So residential is like, they have different standards. They're measured in lumens. This is more about the blue light that comes in the stanchion lighting fixtures.
Does it say here it's just affecting commercial properties?
Yeah, because that's at 330, 345 is residential, and 330, 346 is non-residential.
Right in the beginning.
To this point though, for code amendments and updates, is there like a dark skies,
Best practices or something?
yes, that we could reference in the code that basically says that whatever that guide is updated to say, we would.
It's International Dark Skies Association has that.
they
provide
have
that.
it, and then but people point to this Engineering Illuminating Society, which I tend to find are at odds. There's like the Engineering
Could we
Illuminating
pick
Society
one
says
that-
one thing, and the Dark Skies International says
Could
another.
we pick one that we could reference in our code so that we don't have to keep
That is a good idea.
changing
I-
numbers?
Well, I do say that. I say, oh wait, actually, I might have changed it, but I said recommended best practices by a recognized agency. So that way, I'm not sure which one. Because what if they go out and then we have to keep changing this? So I didn't.
But,
the IES
we
is
just
a
keep
lot of-
changing it for kelvins and wattage and,
Yeah,
you know.
whatever you want. You know, I can give you that.
I mean, I think the IDA
I'm fine
is,
with this, I'm just saying going
Okay.
forward.
Yeah, sure.
I would just recommend looking at the IDA because I believe the code amendment that the county made did follow IDA recommendations, International Dark Skies Association.
Happy to.
So I'm just seeing it, so I don't know, it might already be in here, but what is the leeway that people have in order to switch over? This goes into effect immediately.
Oh,
This is for new construction.
It's for new. Yeah.
This doesn't, there's no like amortization, so they have
have
a
really no
certain
way to
amount of
test for
time
this.
to switch out.
That would be up to you guys if you want to do that. It's probably more trouble than it's worth because, basically when they go to switch the lights out, they come into us and we'll say, no, you have to get, work out.
I like this because it's not burdensome on the existing businesses. They don't have to feel like they have to make this change. This is, obviously as new developments go in, they should be following these guidelines, and that will be indicated and articulated during the planning steps, right?
Yeah, in the site plan review. So
Okay.
someone will show us a lighting plan and they may show 3,000 and we would be like, no, the threshold's now 2,700. And then, so they have to give us like, it's not, so the lamp specifications, that's the lamp itself
Mhm.
that's made to emit this light blue or the more yellow light, the
Right.
lower the Kelvin, the more yellow, the higher the Kelvin, the more blue.
Warmer.
That's the easiest
the more
way
warmer
to think
it
of it.
Mhm.
And if you notice, all our lighting that was changed in this building, when we did that, and Christine Fenton was the town engineer, I gave her all the medical journal stuff about what spectrum of light, and this light is actually good for you.
Yeah.
All the people here and that work here. So we changed the lighting to be what the medical accepted amount was.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of interesting medical science and research that discusses how high Kelvin affects your human health.
Yes, a lot of it. Very
Sleep
much so.
cycles and
Sleep
everything else.
cycle, your mitochondria, like whatever, you can get into that, but it does affect you. So this is good spectrum lighting
Yeah.
for everyone here.
All right, good, thank you. We'll
Thank
move
you.
forward. All right, this, just a few more add-ons. This Town Board Resolution ID number 47855, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize the supervisor to execute a no-cost contract extension with First Coastal Corporation for coastal engineering services in connection with the Bridgehampton Beach Erosion Control District. And similarly, Town Board Resolution ID number 47856, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize the supervisor to execute a no-cost contract extension with First Coastal Corporation for coastal engineering services in connection with the Sagaponack Beach Erosion Control District.
You just received another resolution to set a public hearing to consider the substitution of terms in residential district in the table of use regulations. This was brought before us earlier this year, and the title was to correct a typo. There were some questions about whether or not that should happen, and so I pulled the resolution, and we're putting this one forward for a public hearing on November 12th. This is to go along with the series of changes that we made in 2019 to replace the term mentally retarded with the term intellectually disabled in town code. There was one place in the table of uses where the former term was used, and we're replacing that. And this is a
Councilman, I just
resolution for a public hearing.
Councilman, I just want to thank you for that, and Madam Clerk, if I may co-sponsor, thank you.
Sunday, there's actually one more change to a resolution on page 62. Four 47800 is actually Councilman Scavoni's resolution. I just knew it didn't sound right. It should be, the title should be 90 North Sea Mecox Road, not North Sea Road. North Sea Road, 90 North Sea Road's in the village.
See,
MECOPS. It's correct in the body of the resolution, it's just the title's wrong.
Okay, good. All right, so that brings us to our next topic, which is a proposal to amend the 2025 ZBA fee schedule. And with us is Janice Shear, our Town Planning and Development Administrator, and Sean McDermott, our Chief Building Inspector. Thank you.
I thought there was a lot of other stuff that Tom Houghton on here. No?
Thank you.
I think that's in.
Thank you.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we had put this on for just as part of the budget process, but it does deserve some discussion because it's a bit of a change of procedure here that we've been talking about. And there was, during COVID, we were talking about maybe doing, a procedure that most people are familiar with in other places and the villages, where you have to come in and get sort of a denial before you can go to the zoning board of appeals. And there seemed to be a lot of consternation about that possibility, although that is the way I would recommend we do things here. But
Most places do it that way,
most
don't they?
places do it that way, but there was a lot of people who came forward and said, wait a minute, we're allowed to go straight to the zoning board of appeals. We know we need a side yard setback. We should just be able to apply for the side yard setback before we go to the building department.
So does our code provide for that? Because
It's sort of more along the lines of case law that people have been talking about, but just let me get out the whole thing,
okay,
and
yeah.
then I'll, we can talk about it. So when these, structurally, we would like to just change the way that things are done to make it easier and quicker for people. That's our entire goal here, right? And I think everyone shares that goal. So the way we would like people to come in is to submit a building permit application, be under a review, have a permit denial, some kind of, reasons for denial, right? That the inspector or the plan reviewer would issue what happened, why it needs to be denied, it needs a side yard setback, it doesn't meet pyramid. Whatever happens, you get that denial, you go to the zoning board of appeals, let's say you get the relief you're seeking, you come back, you're already in the process, now you can move forward, because you're already there, and it goes quicker. Most people opt to go, well, I'm going to zoning board first, before I submit my permit, and what happens over there is, they don't give us complete applications, it doesn't, they are, then go through a lengthy process of getting onto the zoning board agenda, and then have to come and start all over at the building department. So, however, we would like it where people submit applications, get denied, and go to the ZBA. For those things that an inspector already reviewed, because,
it is the zoning board of appeals.
Right,
You're
9
supposed to be
times
appealing
out of
something.
10.
Yeah, it's the law, actually.
Right. 9 times out of 10, people do know what they need relief on, but that one time, they'll go and let's say they get all the way through that, and then they find out they come back to the building department finally after that whole process, and they go, actually, you need this, and they get so mad because, but you went there first and decided everything you needed, and so we don't like this. So we suggest, and this could be up to you right now, sort of an incentive. Like if you come in through the way we want you to, there's one fee. And if you insist on going straight to the ZBA, that's fine too, if you must, but there's just another review fee added on because we need to confirm the things you're saying are true. So it may be lengthier as far as that goes, but eventually people will realize that the way we want you to do it is the way you should do it, and that's quicker and easier and everything else, and the old way drops away. But in the sense that I'm just trying to accommodate both sort of styles of wanting to apply, because you will hear from attorneys, and we didn't have Katie Garvin here, which I apologize for, because it was supposed to be next week, this conversation, but it got moved up. But and Jim, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but we you know, really got a lot of pushback and a lot of people getting very upset that we would say you need a turn down before you can come through.
So
ZBA.
I understand,
You
but
need to turn down.
But
That's the law.
that's, they understand that process. But I think the question is, and I think because it's such a lengthy time to get on the ZBA calendar, I think if you said to them, we will tentatively calendar you on the ZBA as you go through the building department process, and if you don't get a denial, we will remove you from the calendar, but allow them to at least put their name on the list.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. If you go through we will ensure a quicker process to get you on that calendar. But if people continue to give us not complete information, not the right stuff, you know, it's very convoluted, you know, like they just sort of just shove it in there and give it to our confidential secretary who's got piles beyond belief of incomplete things. And we don't, you know, there should be a person at the counter with a checklist and we go through the review and it gets placed on the calendar. Well,
But why
more
aren't we
importantly, we would
requiring that though? That's
we-
what's confusing, I think, to us.
we do, but there just seems to be like, you know, a lot of leeway. And I just need to tighten it up, and Sean and I both, right? And let's hear from our chief.
And I spoke with Katie yesterday about, because I mean, obviously under the New York State law, you know, town law, under zoning board procedures, you have to have a denial. That's the entryway. You have to have a denial from the building inspector before you can get to the zoning board. As the supervisor just said, it's the zoning board of appeals. You know, there are interpretations. I think, you know, some courts have said, well, that could be a direct going to the zoning board. But essentially, anything else requires it. Now, Katie, procedurally, Katie was mentioning that we were trying to, and this may go along with Councilperson McNamara's point, that maybe you can streamline a little bit. You don't have to necessarily require, I think what you're trying to implement is not necessarily require a full building permit application with all the plans and everything prior to getting that denial. And that's, I mean, I think that's fine. You do something that way. So a quicker review, like you were saying, like
I'm gonna give you
having somebody in the building department who can review something pretty quick to at least get that initial denial to get you the jurisdiction to get into the ZBA.
I'm gonna give you my own real world application of this. Is I came in for potentially doing a detached garage on my side of my property, and at the front counter I was told you have there's two roads, so I have 2 front yard setbacks, and they're like, your corner of your house is you can't touch anything on that piece of property without a variance. So like they told me at the counter, like, you can't touch that piece of your property, you can't build anything on it without a variance. And so it's like, at that point, why can't I get on the calendar at least?
Well, you
that's,
can, and you
that's the front.
That's
counter.
all I want to be able to do is get on the calendar.
You're relying on the front counter doing your your review. So now you're going to proceed with that. We're probably going to find something else, or an inspector can refine that. You know, right now they're just looking at it. They're not doing a review. They're just looking at it and saying, "Oh, look, you know, like that." They're trying to help you out. So that goes straight into ZBA. That gets sent over to an inspector that has to do a review on it. Then it goes back to ZBA. The board determines if they're going to grant it or not. They grant it, comes back. Now you have to come to the building department where that application, complete application, will go maybe even to the same inspector or a different inspector. And if there was something that wasn't caught in the initial, we get multitudes of different things happening. Somebody will come in with an application straight to ZBA for this. In the meantime, so they got the variance. They come back, now the plans that they're submitting to the building department are different than what they submitted to the zoning board. You know, the zoning board of appeals is very specific. You know, you can't deviate what they grant. So now we're in this whole, well, wait a minute, you were granted variance for this, but you're showing us.
I just want a dual track. I just
That's
want
what
you
I'm
to be
saying.
able to get in the
And that's
queue
what we're
for the
saying.
ZBA.
We're saying
That's all.
we want to make it easier. I want to see if the ZBA is willing to do a couple of extra meetings to kind of clear the decks
That'd be amazing.
and just get rid of, you know, and then in January start this new way of doing things and give it a try. I'm not, you know, if you know, we're not trying to make it worse. We're trying
No,
to
and
make
I
it better
understand,
and be
it's-
creative and at least eventually incentivize people to come through with a building application.
Yeah.
Because if you really want a variance, then you actually wanna build something. And not just like, let me go throw this at the wall and see if I can, charge, it's just kinda like,
To that-
there's a
to
lot
that
of
It's gonna
frivolous
take away a lot of the
applications.
confusion that some
You're not
people
serious.
experience.
Come for a building permit application, we'll review it, tell you that you need a side yard setback, you need pyramid, you need X, Y, and Z, and then we'll give you that list. You can go to the zoning board knowing that's correct, and the secretary can put you on the calendar.
And to that
But this
point,
doesn't do that.
Sure it does,
No,
because it
doesn't.
has
It does.
an incentive where it says, the first one is resulting from a complete building permit
Yeah,
submission.
but maybe somebody is willing to pay the extra $300 just to go directly
No, we
to the
can't,
zoning
you know.
board.
They
Why
don't.
are we-
these are people that are
Actually-
paying attorney that basically
Yeah.
have.
So here's what happens in the second instance. That was the first example. In the second instance, you just walk in and say, here, this is my variance. And we go, okay, they paid the extra fee, now it goes back for a review anyway. But now you don't have the benefit of actually being in the queue for an actual permit. So you just doubled your time. So not only is it an extra $300 fee, it's more time for you.
But were you
So
you're
saying
saying like after
Candace
the
was the
zoning board
one,
act?
were you saying Candace is doing the review at the
Well,
moment?
there's inspectors that do reviews,
Not a
but
building
it's,
inspector?
No,
No,
there's building
no.
inspectors doing
Candace is
reviews.
doing the reviews.
But we're accepting them in, and it's all on her. So I don't wanna make this about her, I just wanna make it about, like, there's a process here where one of them eventually will kinda get pruned away. And that is the way we're doing, like, I'm trying to make it a dual track, just to implement a new thing, and then the old thing drops away.
So-
It just makes it easier for people to do it, because otherwise everybody gets upset.
So you're ultimately looking for them to submit the full application now? is
Yeah.
basically it.
It's
That
And
would
at the
be
end of the
to get
day,
turn down.
Why
When
don't
the zoning
we
board then
just
approves it, then you'll be ready to issue the
Well,
permit.
you know,
Why don't we change the code to require it, make it more clear that that's the process, but that they can get on the, as Cindy said, they can get on the agenda, or, put a placekeeper to get on the agenda. I don't know, I
Can,
just
but
don't
you'll
think
hear
this
what
will
we
have
heard, which people mostly land use attorneys had a serious and significant issue with that, what you were suggesting, which is what we were suggesting initially.
But is that
What's their
what,
issue with that?
Why is there?
Katie,
They said there's
remember?
case law to say that you don't need a denial, you can go straight to the ZBA.
That's not-
maybe our law.
I've been doing this so
our-
long.
Tim is adamant on that. That's not true.
I-
Very often he says, that is not true. Usually he says, I have to look into that.
Well, we could get, we could have a
I mean,
public
right,
hearing and you
some-
could
something
hear
like
from
an
them.
interpretation
But I'd rather just
sometimes,
do it
but
this way and let
anything-
the old one drop away.
Anything needs a variance or, area
I
variance.
think this way it's
setback,
cleaner and quicker.
Then you need the building department denial first. That's-
Why don't we
I mean,
determine if
interpretation
that's
sometimes-
accurate, Jim, that, that there's case law that says that we're not allowed to
There isn't
require
any
a
case law.
denial.
I just think we're in a
I'm
municipality.
100% confident on that.
We're in a municipality where there are people that can afford architects and attorneys to put them through this process, and they want the fastest way possible. And the people that suffer are the people that can't afford the attorneys and the architects and have to
No,
go
this
through the
isn't
process.
faster. This is an extra, it's a disincentive. It's an extra fee
I
and
get it.
extra time to
Yeah.
do it the way we don't want. And it's a lower fee and a quicker way to do it the way we do want, is what I'm trying to say. To incentivize, because we here like to give people the carrot, not the stick. So we're trying to incentivize you to go the path we think is the best path.
But the
Now-
path that you want people to go is the path of people that don't have money, that need to go to the building department to figure out if they need a variance and what they
Right.
need. They have to go that way.
And that's
Already.
Right.
And the
But
whole thing
they don't
is,
submit either.
Yeah.
So
you
They
know,
regardless
really
of
should.
financial
Here's
status.
There is confusion here.
I brought in the
and very
closer.
often, some people will submit a variance, get a variance, and then they, put in building plans. And sometimes the variance doesn't necessarily reflect what they're building. And then the inspectors go out and say, wait a minute, you built X, Y, or Z, and you really needed a variance for that. So now they're going back to the zoning board for an as-built variance because they're pointing to an existing variance that they got earlier. You've had this experience. And yeah,
So what
Anyway,
we're trying to
I've
say
had
is
the
remember the Zoom with all the land use attorneys,
Mhm.
when we tried to say from now on, here on out, you have to do turn downs first.
Yes.
And then everybody went kind of
well,
berserk.
Yes.
no, we want to do it the way we
so-
want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they said we have unfettered access to go straight to the zoning board.
Yes.
What was the basis of that assertion?
What is the basis you want to serve?
That they have
The
unfettered
attorneys,
access.
she said the attorneys came and said, we should have unfettered access to be going directly to the zoning board without a denial from
Oh, I
the
don't think
building
anybody said
inspector.
they had
unfettered access. They just
Oh.
preferred
Name the
the,
person that said it, I'm sure you all
I
know.
can
who
tell
it
you
is.
who it
they
is.
preferred the system that we have in place. I mean, it's not that the system that we have in place was wrong. It's not wrong. They have a building department turn down letter. It's just,
Oh, they do. See, that's
They-
what we were
yes.
not
they-
hearing. We heard that they
Yes.
don't get the turn down
No,
letter.
they get a turn.
After the fact, they don't come
They
for
go
a
straight
building
to the
permit
ZBA.
submission and get a turn down on their submission. They
ZBA
go-
will send that over
They get a
to
confirmation of what
the
they've
inspector to
submitted.
get a review.
So we're saying
So
that.
So it's a little
Straight.
backwards.
With a building permit and get a full review. You know, it's almost like a partial kind of, you know, you're asking for going straight, I know this is what I want. This is what I need right here, and this is what they apply for, so we do a review on it. Give it a denial, yep, you need pyramid relief, you need side yard relief, front yard, whatever they're asking for. Goes back over, ZBA votes on it, they grant it, comes back, now they come back into the building department with a complete application with that variance. And let's just hope during that review, we don't find, cause they changed something or
They
added
need more than
something,
they thought.
they did more than it's what, and now they
Now they
get
gotta
another
go back to
denial.
the ZBA.
And you can imagine the frustration, you know,
So,
at the end of the day, we're trying to streamline. We wanna help our constituents, we get paid to help people, not make things more difficult for them. Okay, it's frustrating, cause we take it at the counter, you said, somebody did a review at the counter. Our counter people are very good, they've been doing it a long time, they know, they recognize things, but they don't do reviews, they're instructed not to do reviews. Number one, it holds up the line, and,
So actually on the review, I mean, subsequent to this, you know, this new procedure, when they submit the application, what does that review process look like internally? When they provide you with that application and their plans or whatnot, who's looking at it? Who's making determinations
well,
here?
only in building inspector, you talking about the actual review?
Yeah, the review
You
process that
need
will
a
determine whether or
building
not
inspector,
it's.
because what you're doing is you're appealing the denial of a building inspector.
You can go straight in and say, I know I need a side yard, my building is set 10 feet and I need 20 feet,
Right,
whatever. You can
right.
walk in and say, I need a variance because I need this side
Right.
yard setback. And it does go through a review, but we're saying,
Who reviews that one?
the inspectors, you know,
Building
gets
inspector.
assigned, usually it's Artie or Marjorie, you know, they've been mostly doing them, like to confirm that is what you need. However, those things sit and they wait in the, you know, like we have a lot of incomplete things because a lot of people are just going straight to the ZBA without the benefit of a building permit submission. So we wanna make it dual track. And we wanna make it easier and easier to submit for the building permit, as you know, going digital, et cetera. So that when they do come in that way, we can easily identify the variances, easily give you the turn down, and you easily then go to the ZBA. This way they go ZBA, back to the building department, back to ZBA,
So
back
that-
to the building department.
So
We're saying, go to the building department, go to ZBA, come back.
But
You're
you think
already
a
in the review.
$300 add-on fee is gonna cure that?
Well, it's a bit of a disincentive, but I mean, you know, I'm being reasonable.
But
You
I
can
mean,
put
maybe
a,
we
you know,
should just change the-
$1,000 review
No,
fee,
but why
that's
don't we
crazy.
just change the
the code.
process?
I'm just trying to take baby steps to change a process.
So
That's
the three of
really
you
it.
support
The
this?
ultimate goal is to change
You
the
have to-
process.
Three of
Yeah,
you support
this
this, I'm
way-
fine with hearing.
This
from the
makes
public on
sense
it.
to you?
I haven't heard the new process. I don't, it made sense to me initially when we tried to change the whole process.
Yes.
And I guess what Janice is saying is, so we
We're-
don't scare everybody
we're
with the whole
working
process, let's
get
basically suggest an in-between stage, is that what it is?
It's a baby
Yes.
step.
I like it.
One
Either
step.
process,
I like it.
requires a building inspector to look at the application, right? So in compliance
Correct.
with New York State
One-
town law, that's.
Yes. One is a quicker process because now you're already in a review. Save for the fact that you need a variance, but you're already there. You received it, we have it, we've looked at it. Now you just get a thing, you go get your, you know, and we wanna say, that is a quicker calendar. Your calendar, you come from the building department, where you put a submission in, those get priority, right on the calendar. You go this circuitous way, less of a priority, more time, more money. So that drops away eventually once people realize that's not the way to go about it. but you
Oh.
still have the freedom to do that if you so
And then you
choose.
can come back to us and tell us, hey, listen, nobody's really going that route anymore. We can
drop
it.
Yes,
I'm fine.
it's all about
I'm
having
hearing
choice and freedom and access
It's
and
basically
whatever.
people in their way.
Until you get used to the new way. Until we make the new way bigger and easier.
Somebody
Except
had a
that
good
most
suggestion.
people are just gonna pay the
I don't know how
300.
feasible it is for the zoning
And
board.
wait.
You know, with the building department, I mean, a couple of years ago, we were 1 year, 4 months out on plans. We were almost a year out on fast tracks, full decks. Sometimes you have to do things. We shut down to the public on Wednesdays to devote more time to doing that. When we start getting backed up, which we're starting to get a little bit, I don't wanna go past we call 3 drawers like that. I keep all the inspectors in 1 week, no inspections. Everybody stays in and does plan reviews to chip that away, so that process,
So now
keeps
how far
moving.
out are we
we're 5 weeks out for full plan reviews, and we're
for
about
full permit?
2 to 3 weeks on
So,
fast
so
track.
I'm just trying to wrap this around my head. How does this change that and make it easier for
So what happens, oh,
Not
sorry.
making it easier.
Okay.
Not making it, this was just something we're trying to.
we're trying to,
get back
it
what we
sounds to me,
initially
it's,
wanted
it's,
to do.
it sounds to me we're trying to reduce the burden of the ZBA and
Not the ZBA, the staff, the
The
building
staff,
staff.
Staff.
the way the staff works, the way it has to be submitted, the way it's waiting around for
how,
pieces of
how
documentation.
if we're incentivizing them to go through the building department first to
Because you
decide?
can't even get a permit number unless you're complete.
Let me
So
just add
now
something.
we know we
Let me
have
just add something
everything.
too, just from what I'm hearing from this now, it will also, there are simple applications that don't need to go to the
Yeah.
building inspectors, like a single and separate determination,
Yeah.
or something very simple where you don't need 40 different variances, or you're putting in a tennis court, so you don't necessarily need building plans and pyramid review, right? So some of those, are simple turn down letters, whereas other ones where you're building a brand new house and you're gonna need loads of plans should have a full building department review. Does that sound right?
Exactly.
So this will also streamline the simpler ones, because the simpler ones, don't need a big stack of stuff for somebody to review.
I also think too, once we go online, a lot of this will self-correct.
Right, so that's the other thing, is that we're sort of setting up these procedures in advance of the online, so that we can sort of do them on paper first and get used to it, and then, so
I
in
just
the digital world.
demoed new software with Sean. You were in on part of it, I think, and it just really sets people up to get through the process in the way that we set up the process, not the way they want the process to be. Which to me was the best part of that whole thing, was having interdepartments communication on one screen, having people be able to go on their portal and know exactly where their application was when they were on the calendar, because it's something that we have to do, and it's something I just keep hearing from the trades is, listen, you can keep raising fees, but if you're going to keep raising fees, we want something. We want to get through the processes. We want a streamlined process. We want to be online. We want to be able to go online without having to get on the phone and call. And this takes them away from the desk every time they have to answer the phone or look for a plan. This is the person themselves going on and see exactly where they are in the process. There's no question. There's no drawer to find. There's no folder. There it is. And everybody, you can see all the notes from all the different departments. And it's something that we really, really need to make a priority. But while you're all here, I just want to ask one more question. And Katie,
There definitely should be a reduced fee for single and separates.
Katie, this
Those
is
are
more
quick.
to you, and this is a big community concern, is, a lot of the applications before the ZBA are contentious, and neighbors want to weigh in, they want to come to the public hearings, but it's also a burden on Candace, because a lot of the attorneys will drop off, or they'll ask for an adjournment the night of the hearing. And then people come and they don't know until they take the agenda from Candace that it's like, I've sat through, back when I used to come, I've sat through whole things going, you skipped it. And it was like, Candace is like, no, it's grayed out. They adjourned it. And I'm like, I wish I knew.
Can we have
Like,
a list of adjournments in the beginning of the agenda, so people don't sit around?
I mean,
not just that, I'm just asking for a process by which, because right now I have neighbors and CAC people calling Candace and calling Claire and, is
Calling
this
our
still
office,
on?
too.
And is this,
And
is
calling
this
our
still on?
office.
Is this public hearing happening? Like, because they don't want to give up a night and come down here and find out that, the attorney asked them in the 11th hour to
Yeah.
adjourn it.
Yeah, that does happen a lot.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it's
we can
really
look at that.
hard for people.
Yeah,
Try
I
to do
agree. We
something,
will
yeah.
try and make it better, and you want to make the participation,
Because
more
it kind of makes
meaningful.
it, they almost feel like it's done in a way to make them
But
give up.
but listen, there's no answer to that, because these are people who make the applications to the ZBA, that's the applicant. So they can decide at the 11th hour they're not coming. They cannot tell us that they're not coming, and there's nothing we can do. We can't take testimony if the applicant's not there. So the best way to do that is what we have been doing, and it does say at the beginning of at the agenda.
It's grayed out.
Anything that's grayed out is adjourned. It says it in the application.
Yeah.
It says it on the agenda. Again, Candace does it as quickly as she can.
She does. No, I'm
And-
just
and
saying, it's a
sometimes-
lot of, she answers a lot of phone
No,
calls.
I know, but that's the thing. We can't say to the applicants, if you don't let us know by the day before you're coming, because they just won't show up. I mean, it's their application. And
But there's no
once-
penalty for that. Like, we just
Yeah.
put it on the next
There's
calendar.
an adjournment fee.
Do you have a,
Can it be denied and have them
can you get knocked
resubmit?
off the calendar if you don't show a couple times? Or?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
but we're talking about 15 different things. I mean, yes, we have a policy that if you adjourn something more than 3 times or 4 times, we can deny it without prejudice. Many times, the most complicated applications, the most contentious applications are being adjourned for real purposes. They're not done with SECRA, they're sitting with the planning board. I mean, we don't want to take public testimony on something where we're still waiting on the SECRA.
But
yeah, it's frustrating.
I will second though that I've received numerous constituent questions about that and that process. Even if there's something we can do to, like in the beginning of the meeting, to make an announcement.
We do.
Okay.
We can talk more about how.
Yeah.
But we can say the
ZBA is
ZBA,
now a minute track too, so we finally are on there. So
Right,
maybe
right.
there's something on there that we.
Okay.
But that is
Like-
different than what's before us today.
Sometimes
This is
on our
all about
Hamlet
the
page,
fees
some
and
of
it's
the
like kind of
applications
process.
I
are
like
listed,
this.
but I
I
don't
think
think
this
all
is
of them
good.
are.
For the what?
Like
Also,
on
I
our
wonder-
Hamlet page on the website, like
Is
some
this-
of them are listed.
This is kind of a new topic. We should probably get some preparation for, it's
Sure.
good and it's valid. I just,
Yeah, but just I mean, the reason for all of this frustration is because it's applicant driven. So it's, we are, like I said, we can't, if the applicant's not there, we can't open it up to the public to take testimony. The ways that we do make it easier for the public is they can Zoom and they can come in and they can do written subs. We always leave the applications open. So as much as I know they want to be heard in person and they want to stand at the podium, if there's no applicant, we can't take testimony.
Right,
It's
and
quasi judicial, it's not
the
fair.
point is well taken. There have been applicants who have been on the agenda for a year and a
Yeah.
half. And, they're kind of wearing down the opposition or whatever they're doing. And,
Absolutely.
so
And we do have a
people,
policy for that.
Right.
We do say if you've been, pushing this off on purpose, we can deny it without prejudice. But like I said, more often than not, it is because there's coordination with another agency.
Janice, in addition to this, if you're able to provide an additional breakdown of what the process would look like with the new fee schedule, and just so I think Maria raises a good point. We can make these incentives, but is that really going to change things? I'd like to just take a look at the process, and we'll have additional conversations after.
Sure, I'd be happy
after
to. And just out of this conversation, I realized we don't have single and separate determinations on this list as a separate fee.
So you could add that.
So I would add that if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
And it would be a reduced fee. Those are easy. It would probably be like $500 instead of $800. Something.
Yeah.
So Jim, I have a question about going directly to the zoning board without a denial. How is that not spot zoning? And I mean, they're essentially
No, it's
asking
not-
the
it's
zoning
not
board
spot zoning, but
to make a
it's- but it's
ruling
a-
without a denial, and which.
Yeah, I don't know that.
That
that's
doesn't
it's not-
happen though. We have, let's just clarify. That
Okay,
does not
so
happen.
there is.
It doesn't
That
happen.
does not happen. What we're talking about is a full building inspector review of an entire application. You cannot get to the ZBA without some sort of building department input, and we treat that comment letter, that
That's what I
building
thought.
department
Good.
letter as the denial, which is why it's signed by a building inspector.
Yeah.
So what we're
So
talking
it does
about
get
is a full
reviewed, but
application.
yeah, we're talking about the difference between coming in with a full application, you're
Right.
in a review,
Right.
you're getting a denial, you're going to ZBA versus you're going to ZBA, they then look at it and do the best they can. They don't have the benefit of full plans. They don't have the benefit of looking at it all, but
Right.
only what you're asking for. You've written in some little square on a paper instead of like full blown,
Right.
Sometimes there's more than that. But you know
But
what I
does
mean?
the person in the ZBA staff office refer those to the building inspector
Yes.
anyway?
Sure. It's just that we're trying to make it a lot more formal and a lot more, like, she's not going to just calendar it if it doesn't go through. Either way, it has to go through some kind of review. So,
But she's
but we're saying-
reviewing it to make sure it's complete, and if it isn't, then she
Yes.
has to notify them that
Oh.
it's not, and then hold on the application until it is.
That's the other point. I'm glad you said that,
That's where
because
a lot of backup is.
what we're finding is during COVID, we had the red drop box in the lobby. People dropping their stuff off or mailing it in. We would like to stop that practice, because what happens is we get stuck with these half-complete applications that we have to use public money postage to send them back, or call them and say, you gotta come get this. And it's just like a waste.
Yeah, I
So
don't
they
think
should
we
have to
need do
come
that.
in with a
Yeah.
checklist
waste
and
stuff.
submit over the counter, have everything, and we take it.
Yeah,
And we're
that's-
good.
Because
With
we
a
won't
fee.
take it if it's not complete,
No,
right?
but if
At
you
the
like
counter.
leave it there, we're stuck with it.
Right, so
Then
the
we have to
counter
call
would
you to come
prevent
get
that.
it. Yes, so that's the whole thing.
Hopefully
Stop
that's
that
not
whole
gonna be.
drop off, mail in.
And it's all very staff intensive.
What do
It
we have
is.
to do we have to do something, or just take the
We're
basket
just gonna
away?
take it away and put a notification, no more mail
Fine.
in and no more drop off, just come in. you
Do
know,
the
and
in-person
do the
review.
in-person. Eventually it'll be digital, but until that point, it's just a mess to have it like that for now.
So even if it's going to the ZBA, at the counter review would occur.
The checklist of like the core things you need, right? Your open government disclosure, you have the right fee, you have your survey, you know, the things you're asking for are
Owners,
on the
affidavits, all
plan.
that kind of stuff.
People are asking for setbacks, they don't even put the setback on the plan. It's like.
Yes,
Fill in the
that's
blank.
true.
Really.
I mean, come on,
Yeah,
so we
so-
can at least be like, you know,
Do this,
No.
yeah.
so
I
that's
can't
the
wait
thing.
till it's on.
But it's not that staffer that's gonna have to come up to the front, it would be the front desk
We would
people
like
going
the
through
confidential
everything.
secretary to be the confidential secretary doing the agendas, the minutes, you know,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. And then a staff counterpart, you know, a office assistant or whoever to be the, you know, dealing
Intake,
with-
yeah.
But online's not gonna change that. I mean, online's, you're still gonna get surveys that are.
Yeah.
Well,
Might-
let's, like, once
can't
again,
do
baby
that.
steps, right now we're
Yeah.
not online, we're just talking about, like, let's do the proper process on paper and just how we get used to, like, the workflow, and then we can go on from it, so it mimics the digital way. So everybody's used to it, and then it's digital, it's just one added, you know, you don't have to actually physically be there, it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
I mean,
You're still gonna have people putting in the wrong stuff on digital.
Oh, yeah.
right.
I mean, we get
Sure.
that in our electrical applications, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, we have the electrician's wife filling it out, and then, you know, we're doing refunds because they're overpaying, because they're throwing payment in, and that's coming out, so,
Yeah.
you know, dealing with that, but
Yeah, somebody
same
told me,
thing.
I dropped it off with a blank check, and I'm like,
Yeah, no, we can't, that's another thing.
what? You
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alright, so
Okay,
we'll
so-
get rid of the basket, put a little notification up,
We'll
right?
put the notification up, we'll put it online, we'll fix this fee schedule to say simple and separate determinations, cause I just realized right now that we don't even have that.
You compare to other towns what
And
our
that's it.
fees are in case
I
there's
included the 5 East
adjustments.
End towns with your.
Brookhaven, it's got
So,
some hefty
Brookhaven has
fees.
some weird fees, they
Yeah.
really break it down, over time, we may wanna really look at this. But for now, we're in parity with, you know, a little less, a little more,
I like how Brookhaven's doing it, quite frankly, but
they really have, but like, it's like $601.30.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, where did
Well,
that come from?
Yeah, where did that come from?
But they also have a whole zoning department, right? I mean,
Yes.
they have
$419.94.
people that have dedicated enforcement to their
Yes.
zoning.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
we have building and zoning and we can't.
We would like to
Right.
really
Right?
make this more robust.
When I was
Get
when I
our-
was
We
zoning
would be lost.
when I was zoning board
Yes.
counsel in Brookhaven, we'd have routinely we'd have 12, 15-hour meetings every zoning board meeting, every time from 9 o'clock in the morning till close to midnight, every week.
Well, I mean, it's-
Sometimes after
it's-
midnight.
Yeah.
Because there's
So,
just so
yeah,
many
so
variances.
in your spare time.
Big
if you want
town.
to-
So you got, what's the next step with this?
The next step is just that we didn't want this to be not understood in the fee schedule with the budget. It's just going in the budget as the amended fee schedule.
Okay.
And then we'll fix these things internally, but you'll probably get calls.
And
But at least
Now
the
you know
public
that.
will now listen to this conversation too.
Yeah, and if you could just also outline the process, the submission of the application, the review, and then whether it's appealed, when they go to the ZBA, when they get assigned to the ZBA, it's just so we can have that articulated clearly.
Sure.
In case we get questions.
And I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of the variances people know, they know what it's pretty common. People understand what variances they need. It's not that complicated. There's ones that can be tricky in certain aspects, but for the most part, people know what they need. So the review is fairly common or routine on a lot of the denials.
It's routine, but there's nothing to substantiate it, and so that's the thing, I think I'm really smart and I come in and I say, these are the 3 variances needed, this is all I need, and then a building inspector will say, well, actually, you benefit from continuance 331.15, so you don't need that setback, you do have a pyramid encroachment, and you didn't give me any building plans, and then the applicant's annoyed because
And then they're sitting there. And then
Right, so they go through the whole ZBA process, and then they go to finally the building department, they find out, oh, you didn't.
Yeah,
Well,
they
they
weren't
haven't
so
even, they
smart,
haven't
you
even
need to
gotten
do.
to the hearing for the ZBA because we, Candace and March had said to them, we can't put you on until you give us your plans because we don't know that there's a pyramid encroachment and we don't wanna waste the public's time thinking you're only getting setback relief when you actually have a pyramid encroachment. So it's just, they think they've made an application and then they're waiting or we're waiting for confirmation of the variances. It's much better to go right to the building department for, as if you were getting a permit and then the building department says, no, these are your variances.
Right, so that's the only reason I was saying we should make that the rule, that's what they have to do, so to
That's the
avoid the
goal.
frustration, but this is, I don't know, I
it's
just don't
one
see that
step
this is
inching
gonna work.
toward that goal.
People are just gonna get mad that they have to pay and they will pay the extra fee, so it's not, I don't know if it's gonna result in what you're saying, but if everybody seems comfortable with it, I'm not gonna
I
argue
think
about
it will. I think it will initially because like I said, the ones that are just getting tennis courts and swimming pools and sheds, they don't necessarily need to get in that other line yet. They will, but they don't need to. So I think the complicated ones that should be getting a full review will do that because they know I'm not just putting up a pool, I'm putting up a 2-story house with an attached garage and a swimming pool and a sauna.
But even when they get the ZBA variance, they still have to go to the building department,
course, they
right?
need to-
So
We save
They're
them
not
some time
saving
too.
any-
We are
No, they
because if you're in the people are always like avoid the building department because they think it takes too long. But he's saying it's 5 weeks out for a full permit, so it's not that long to
Yeah,
wait.
that's what we're trying to keep.
So we're trying to say, come to the building department, have most of your review done, figure out what you
and
need.
you'll have continuity
Go
over
to the
you.
zoning board. We'll get you on quicker because you did that. We'll make that faster. Get your variance, come back, you're halfway through your review, you're home free. That's what we're trying to do.
What do we need to do to put this in?
Or we just wanna put this on the fee schedule and you understand it and we'll give you the process and what we think and we'll lay it all out for people to understand and, we don't wanna penalize anybody, but at the same thing, we wanna reward people who go the way that we think it should go. And if it goes that way, everybody's still gonna get on, it's just a matter of, timing.
It seems longer if you go to the ZBA first and then come back around.
Unless
Then
it's
get a-
something simple and then you're like, fine, I'll do that.
but you still have to come back around,
You always have to come back on
so.
it. You still always
But
need
if
permit.
if you submitted an application and I did your plan review and I said, okay, you're gonna need this, you're gonna need relief for this, and that. I send you a denial letter. So now you go to the zoning board of appeals with that denial letter. And then you put it in your application.
You're right on the calendar.
Right there, you get on the calendar with that. You get your ZBA decision. Come back to me. Yeah, I got that. I said, okay, I already did the rest of the review. Okay, that's good. Here's your permit.
Right. Versus, I'm going to ZBA first, because I don't want to talk to the building department yet. It's still going there. Has to go through that whole thing anyway, but you had to go there first. So, it's just longer. It's longer.
But I
and it's
understand
more
to your point too, like they went to the ZBA for a side yard variance and then you find out they need a pyramid variance when you
Right.
see the full plan and now they gotta go back to the ZBA.
Right, so if you could solve the whole thing by just saying, we're not gonna let you do that anymore, everybody comes
Well,
to
I
us
think it was
first,
tried once, right?
and then we'll
We
send it
just
over to
brought the
them.
idea up and got attacked.
Yeah, but
I mean, so if you wanna do it that way, I'm 100%
I would wanna hear from the
behind it.
public before we did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you're gonna have the same experience, I think. So we're just trying to make it a little like mimic a process that we want. But I'm happy to do it, what
No,
you're
I
saying
mean,
makes
everybody seems
1,000%
comfortable with it.
sense. It's just a baby step. I think that's really all we're saying.
I think
It's a soft launch, as
Yeah.
the teenagers would say.
A soft launch, I like that.
But substantively and procedurally, I do agree with what Maria is saying, and
Me
I
too.
think that it shouldn't be dismissed. I think that we should look at a way that we can secure a process that is procedurally written in, and baked into the code. I think that it makes sense what you're
We
saying.
could do that, but do this first, and then do that.
I just have the feeling that people will grumble, pay the 300, and you'll still have the problem with the ZBA staff
Especially if they have
being
lawyers and everybody else.
inundated
Well,
with.
people are gonna grumble no matter what.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
But
Um,
okay, so
but
November 11th, I think, is the
12.
public
November
hearing, the 12th.
Yeah.
Where we can amend the budget to include this, and there's two other requests too for fee changes, one from Ryan Murphy and one from Tom Houghton.
Well, we'll fix this one also, just so it says single and separate determination, so I have to do that
Mhm.
again.
And
Yeah.
I do want to thank you for your work on
Don't
this. I
try
know
to
that this,
rush it though for Tuesday.
working with Sean and making sure that this is. And
We talk all the
Katie and-
time,
yeah.
and we always think about like, how can we make this better? Why is this like this? How
Yeah.
can we fix this?
We again, we talk about Candace. We don't want one individual to be
Do
so
it, yeah.
overwhelmed
Yeah.
Yep.
that, we don't want that.
Right.
Right.
So
She
we're,
makes
does want
sense.
to, and she
we're
does.
trying
Yeah.
to
Yes.
come around
She's very good.
and get additional help in there, and without, we're still kind of short-staffed, and
Yeah, we wanna thank the board for all your support with the building
Yeah.
department and changes
Yes.
and things that we've been
Sure.
trying to
More
do.
to
So
come.
everyone's been very supportive and we appreciate that.
And I just want to say too, on just not to keep talking about Candace, but she does do an amazing job, and she is one of the employees that I hear time and time again from the public. How pleasant she is doing her job, which is
Not
refreshing.
easy to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She really
Concern.
wants a window.
And she deals with stuff that's very controversial and people are really heated about, and
File-
she
files
really
are
handles
walking.
everything very well.
All right, well,
So,
good,
okay, well,
thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
You too.
And thank you for Janice. Thank you for speaking on Dark Skies.
Of course,
Thank you.
my pleasure.
Thanks, Sean.
Oh, did you get it done?
All right, so let's go forward with the supervisor and town council members liaison updates. Can't remember who started last time. All right, so Councilman Scavone, do you have anything
Sure.
you wanna
Last night
update?
at our youth bureau, we had our youth in government meeting in Hampton Bays at the senior center. We had 18 students. Great turnout. If you are in high school and you are interested in learning more about government and being on the floor of the New York State Assembly, debating with 750 kids from across the nation, please contact, from across the state, please contact our youth bureau, Peter Stricker, on our website. It's a great program.
Guess it's me.
It's you.
If you like.
Yes, myself and the supervisor went to Franca last night, and I had a good meeting and listened to them, and they were happy with things what the town board has been doing, and they also had a couple requests, and which we're following up on, and hope we get it fixed in the next few meetings. They request they wanted.
Yep, they were a very engaged group. They
Yes. Very polite.
talked about sewer treatment plants and abandoned gas stations and 7Zs, and they wanted to know everything that was going on. So gave them as much information as we could, and we'll follow up with what's left.
Good work.
Yes.
Anything else? That's right.
No, that's good.
How about you?
Do you have any?
Nope, that's it. Just to reiterate about last night.
I'd like to amend mine if I could.
No.
Just last night, the Suffolk County had a meeting at
Oh,
the
right.
Southampton High School,
How'd that go?
and they outlined some of their proposals for County Road 39. It was a good meeting, and they outlined the magnitude of our traffic situation, gave some pretty good data, and their possible solutions, large-scale solutions for the road, and took questions.
Good.
So
They say anything about North Sea Road?
They
It was
said a
39.
lot of things about a lot of places, and yes, definitely particular interests were brought up at the meeting from people in the audience, and there were members of North Sea there who expressed their concerns.
Thank you for being there, Tommy John.
Thanks for the info.
So I will just say on November 2nd, we have our Disability Task Force Resource Fair. We're really looking forward to that. It's going to be at the Hampton Bay Senior Center at 12 o'clock. There are a number of organizations that are participating in this important day. Access for All, East End Special Players, OPWDD, U.S. Autism Homes, Silo. So a number of organizations from the public sector and private sector. I really have to thank Jamie Bowden and Sean McDermott, Sean Cambridge. We just had Sean McDermott here. The other Sean Cambridge, our ADA coordinator, for helping with this event. And I really want to also extend my gratitude to Housing and Community Services, because it's really this is possible because of what they're doing, helping to connect with the special needs community. So I really am grateful, and I hope that some of you attend. Just to see, what the organizations are that are looking to connect with families, as well as meet some of the families and individuals who are looking to come to us to get connected to services.
What's the date on that again?
November 2nd at 12. And that's at the Senior Center. So, all right. And I also want to just mention on Monday I was at Dockers celebrating Italian American Heritage Month. And
the invite this year?
We wished Carmela Burke a 100th birthday. She is a longtime serving member of the Hampton Bays community, has been a part of the Hampton Bays Civic as well. I want to appreciate Ray D'Angelo for his work organizing that. A lot of community members came out, and we had dinner. It was very nice. I also attended Indigenous Peoples Day at Agawam Park, where there were a lot of native businesses and vendors talking, selling their items. It was really nice to see everybody come together, and I really want to shout out Southampton Village for all the work that they are doing to help support the Shinnecock Nation, especially with Indigenous Peoples Day. So, all in all, things are very well. I do want to say that I think, we need to also at some point. I know that we've been dealing with on the topic of the Shinnecock Nation. We've been dealing with the Westwoods issue, and I think that we have a lot of conversations as a board that we need to move ahead with. But I do want to make mention that we have received word from the United States Environmental Protection Agency that they are in communication with the Shinnecock Nation on the Westwoods project. There are still some details that we are waiting to get clarified. But I do want to make mention to the public that we have still been working on this, and we understand that people are concerned, but we also are trying to figure out through our federal partners what is happening and what kind of engagement on the federal side of things is occurring. So, thank you.
That's good news. Thank you for your follow-up.
Sure.
I know community members have reached out because the gas tanks arrived at midnight the other day. I also attended the County Road 39 traffic meeting last night, along with Jim Burke, Tom Houghton. I sat with actually Charlie McArdle, Mark Brager, Jen Wilmot, Sue Hertall was there, and some of the board members from the village were there. Ann Welker was there. I didn't think it was a particularly good turnout. It was pretty much Southampton Village and North Sea residents, which is pretty much what I expected, because everybody else sat in the traffic to get home and they weren't coming back out to Southampton at 7 o'clock at night. They gave, the broad overview, and I didn't hear a lot of positive feedback from the audience on it. More concerns. There was one gentleman that stated that he believes the traffic will help control population and density and growth. There was another, what I heard more last night was safety concerns and current day concerns. And so I will be reaching out to Bill Hillman and Alex Prego, because as they have this conversation, and they pretty much admitted at the time that they don't think they're going to get the community buy-in for the major changes
that will basically change the look and feel of the area to get any meaningful traffic relief. But I think, they're talking about having another meeting next year. I really firmly believe that if you're not going to solve the problem with traffic, and I don't think that there's, like I said, there was already pushback from the North Sea community last night about going to North Sea and going through Noyak. People don't want to see that. But I really think there needs to be a parallel track that the county needs to take, whereas one is for traffic and one is for safety. And there were a lot of safety concerns that were raised last night, and I think it's time to look at making 39 a limited access roadway, getting rid of that turning lane, and just making it so that it's safer for people.
Which turning lane?
The center turning lane. It's being used by people right now to bypass traffic. I've seen people go into oncoming traffic to pass cars that are in that lane to turn. It's a nightmare, and the accidents are really escalating, and people get frustrated, and it's I wouldn't say understandable, but there's a level of frustration with the traffic that leads to safety issues, and I would really like them to look at the safety issues. It was brought up last night, having shoulders so that we can have traffic enforcement and speed enforcement. Having shoulders for the very reason, as I was going out last night, there was a car that broke down by the college where they have that grass hill, and it comes right down to 39, and it tried to get up on the hill. It couldn't. There's a cop behind it. They were waiting for a tow truck, and traffic was snarled all the way back simply because that car could not get out of the way. So I think there needs to be a parallel, safety, make this work for safety and enforcement purposes alongside the traffic issue, because I don't think we need to get to a point where we say, okay, nobody wants to do the big thing for traffic, now let's look at safety. I think it needs to be on a parallel track.
So I would just, I think it's a good point, and I would just ask that any outreach that you do with the county, if you might just include me just in those conversations, because we are working with the task force to complete the final report, and I think that's a valuable insight in terms of what the town can do to leverage our resources to make sure we do that, because we've been talking a lot about if the county is going to launch into a major 10-year project, what can we do in the interim? Because there is need to address some of the issues going on 39 now.
Yep.
And I know Charlie has ideas, Tom Neely has ideas, but I think that's a welcoming insight that I would like to incorporate into what we do holistically.
Yeah, I mean, simply that I have reported to them don't block the box at North Sea Road at that intersection, because it snarls and traffic can't get through. But it's just things that we need them to look at, and it was brought up last night about not having any more curb cuts and more density and more things going on to 39, because the roadway simply can't handle the traffic that's trying to get through without adding more cars trying to come on.
Yeah, that was a very interesting point.
Yeah,
it was an interesting point by Alex Pregler last night. He said that he's looking for the towns to
limit,
review your land use decisions.
Well, we actually looked at that at the last task force meeting, and Janice actually presented and discussed whether or not there is viability behind a limited moratorium on 39.
I had a conversation with Alex Prego from the county about what the town has already put in, and how historically, going back from to the 1980s, 1990s, when the town was subdivided, and we created a lot of the situation that we are dealing with now. It was done without our infrastructure in mind, and we just plowed through. Previous town boards of the last century did this, and we are now dealing with the effects of those decisions.
Sure. What do you say? Stated back from, I guess, the governor of the state had dedicated about
$166 million
in
to
1969.
extend 27.
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as impact fees for subdivisions in 1990, I mean, that wasn't even a consideration. So, and we're dealing with a lot of the legacy development that was created in Southampton town.
A lot of different ideas, right? The flyovers and
elevated roadway.
Elevated roadways.
When that screen came up with the elevated roadway over 39, you could hear the
audible gasp.
Well, it's the cost, right? But to widen the road is going to be, like he mentioned, it's going to be incredible cost because you're gonna have to do takes along both sides. But, you know, probably
He
gonna have
said
to do-
widening the road wouldn't even
No.
do it.
Exit adding a third lane.
What about the,
Yeah, I mean,
like
it just-
the
I
right
think-
of way or the
He
PNC?
brought that up, and they brought up the around the Noyak route, and he also brought up, which I have to say, I was talking to
Traffic
residents, and they
circles.
were very happy that the town now owns Noyak Road and the county doesn't have it, because they felt like if it was still a county road, the county would just be doing that bypass route without any input. So, you know, I didn't hear a lot of feedback for, yeah, we need this to happen. But if you took in who was in the room, there weren't commuters, there weren't west to east commuters in the room. You know, it was all pretty much, there's one gentleman who talked about the north to south. And basically he's in Southampton and wants to just get across town.
So that's not,
You can't.
that's not good then in terms of assessing feedback, because if it's not the whole population.
No, and that was to
knows?
that point, to have that one meeting in Southampton at 7:00 on a Wednesday
know.
night and consider that your community input.
Mhm.
You really can't. There should have been
Yeah.
another one in Hampton Bays. There should be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There should be multiples to say that we're having this meeting now and this is our community meeting for 2024 and we're going to have another meeting in 2025.
Well, it was the
You're
first,
not really looking for buy-in.
right, it was the first one, so we'll see what goes, you know.
Maybe
moving
because,
forward.
you know, Bill is retiring next month. They
Possibly.
wanted to get it done.
Yeah, he has 9 days left. He's
Oh.
done. He's done.
Well,
I
you
told
did a
someone
great
last night.
presentation.
No, Bill's great.
Yeah.
Bill's great. It's a
And it
huge
was
loss.
it was exactly what we had all heard and it was
Yeah,
presented the same way.
good.
Okay.
There was a group from Tuckahoe that grabbed him at the end. They were
Yeah.
talking to him about, you know, the McGee Street intersection and whatnot. So there were some folks from that area. But
And there was also, that was the big takeaway that I got, where people were like, 'cause when he said we want to give people their downtowns, their neighborhoods back, and he said Hampton Bays, Southampton, Watermill, and so it was our CAC leader from North Sea that said, so yeah, you're gonna do that at the expense of North Sea, Noyak, and Sag Harbor. You know, like.
no matter what you say, it's going to be used again.
So everyone has valid points, everyone has concerns. I see us becoming Cape Cod and dealing with the traffic.
Pretty much what he said. Right?
All right, well, if that's everything, then I move to go into executive session for acquisitions and confidential legal advice and then close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I ask everyone, are you gonna